What's going on, folks? Today, let's talk about Straight to VHS. It's an RPG by Lost Cat Games and currently in beta testing seeking feedback. I'll link to their site and subreddit in the description below because you can go grab the rules for yourself for free, give it a read through, play with your friends, and then shoot them feedback. Tell them what you like, tell them what you don't like, or just tell them how your game went. So the game seeks to recreate those movies that were just so bad they were good sometimes. Big Trouble in Little China, Escape from LA, Six String Samurai, and Tremors, and however many sequels it ended up having. I think I saw on Reddit recently that they're working on number 6, so that's a thing. But you create characters that are just combinations of bad movie tropes, and then you carry out asinine and bitchin' story plots and make your own movie. It's a pretty simple game. You just need your character sheet, your pencil, a 20-sided die, and then a handful of coins or tokens. The story is broken into scenes and acts. Scenes are shorter, they're a local area or a single combat or social encounter, maybe a mix of both, or the group working towards some sort of short term achievable goal. The general rule of thumb is a scene should take no more than about an hour of real playtime. Each character has abilities that they can use once a scene, so each time a scene ends, they recharge those abilities and can use them in the next scene. Acts are longer. They're comprised of multiple scenes and represent certain story milestones. They might end at the end of a session or when the group reaches a certain point in the plot that deems the end of an act. A lot of times acts end in what's called a montage, and this is the point where characters acquire new abilities and essentially level up. The actual mechanics are pretty simple. It's a d20 system, but it only uses the d20. You don't have one dice for attacking and another for damage or anything like that. You simply roll a d20, add your relevant modifier, and then if you reach the difficulty level of whatever task you are doing or higher, you succeed in that task. For those who have played D&D, some of the mechanics will be familiar. They're still rolling a 20 or a 1 on the 20-sided dice, but instead of a critical hit or a critical miss, you have a lucky break or a tough break, and those are important for a mechanic we'll discuss later on. Similar to the 5th edition D&D mechanic of advantage and disadvantage, there's what's called epic dice and blooper dice. Epic dice are when the situation says that the odds are in your favor and you get to roll whatever check you're making twice and take the higher number. Blooper dice are the opposite. The odds are against you, so you must make whatever check you're doing twice and take the lower number. There's other ways that you can acquire epic dice though, and that's through what's called tokens. Tokens can be earned from certain class mechanics, but you can also get them by role playing in awesome ways. Anytime you do something that really pushes the narrative forward, or kicks the action up a notch, or stays true to your character despite whatever's happening in the situation, if that's what your character would do, even though that's not the most mechanically best option, your game master can opt to award that role playing by giving you a token. You can then exchange those tokens for epic dice in other situations, and you can bank up to 5 tokens at a time. Characters have things that they're really awesome at called fortes. Anytime you're making a check that's in one of the areas in which you have a forte, you automatically get an epic dice. And then you have bloopers, which are the character flaws or areas where your character is lacking. And anytime you make a check in those situations, you get blooper dice. Important note for the folks used to advantage and disadvantage though, unlike D&D where no matter how many stacks of both you have, if you have both, they all cancel out. In Straight to VHS, they only cancel at a 1-to-1 rate. So if you have 3 epic dice and 2 blooper dice, they cancel out 1-to-1 and you are left with 1 epic dice. So there's a really good reason to try and pile on those epic dice because you could overcome the bad things about a situation with how awesome you are. Both the dice mechanics and the roleplay aspects are important because they fuel an ability called a script change. In order to get a script change, first you have to get a 1 or a 20 on a roll, and then your character needs to show weakness. And you can show weakness in a couple different ways. Certain tropes have abilities that let them automatically show a weakness in a certain situation, but you could also show weakness by using one of your bloopers in a consequential situation. So this is a situation that's important to the narrative, and your character, even though they suck at that thing, steps up and tries to do it. And this lets you show weakness and meet the second criteria to get a script change. There's a list of your script changes, and they're just things that you can use to turn the situation on its head. Suddenly this character shows up, either somebody new or from earlier in the story. You can change the emotional state of one of the NPCs you're dealing with. You can reveal a truth about yourself or one of the NPCs, and that's the way the story is now. You can have a mishap occur that completely makes the situation that was going to be bad for your group be awesome for your group, or let you get out of whatever situation you were in. Or you can just have that thing that you need for this exact situation happen to be on hand. You're trying to get out of a building before you get caught, and there just happens to be a helicopter on the helipad on the roof. Or the bad guy punches you and you go rolling across the floor, and when you look up, there's a gun taped to the bottom of the table. They're just ways that you can mechanically or narratively completely change what's going on in the story. Character creation is pretty simple. You combine 2 tropes, you get 1 perk, you spend starting cash on any equipment you want, and then you compare your athletics against the table in the rulebook to find out how far you can move. The game's got 7 stats, and you find out your scores in these stats when you pick your 2 tropes. You'll scroll through the list and then add all of the bonuses or negatives listed next to the 2 that you pick, and this is also when you see if you have any fortes, bloopers, and which special abilities your character will have. Next, everyone gets 1 perk, so you simply scroll through the list, pick the one that most fits with your character, and then it's off to spend your $200. Once you've got all your equipment, you simply look at your athletic score and compare it to the table in the rulebook to see how far you can move each turn, and then character creation is done. Finally, the rulebook closes with an inspiration section. It's got a lot of media that you can use to get yourself ideas, VHS plot elements to build from or include in your story, and finally some character traits that you might want to read through to add different personality and backstory aspects to your characters. It closes out on a simple 2-page character sheet, which is really easy to fill out, and then that's it. You're ready to play straight to VHS. So there you have it, an RPG that's fast and easy to learn, has quick character generation, and is full of bad 80s movie plot points, over-the-top action, and terrible, terrible puns. I haven't got to play it yet myself, but I've read through the rulebook a couple of times, and I'm putting together a quick one-shot to run on Roll20 with some friends and see how they like it. I do want to thank you for hanging out and watching me ramble on about the stuff that I enjoy doing, so feel free to check out the other stuff on my channel or watch me stream my games live on Twitch.